Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie The UN Perfect Guy. Enjoy the movie. Following a successful job interview, a lady called Seda returns home to inform her lover, Boria. However, she is taken aback when she discovers him cheating on her. Despite this, he doesn't appear to be sorry and encourages her to calm down. Seda does this because she still loves Boria and does not care if he cheats. As he appears to be upset with himself, he starts tossing items around, causing damage to someone's car outside the house. Despite the fact that he is to blame, Seda accepts responsibility and promises to fix it for the owner. Following this, she tells Boria to let them go back inside, but he refuses, claiming he is over the relationship. Seda is upset and bewildered, not knowing what to do next. The next day, she arrives at her new employer, where she meets a man named Vitya, who briefs her on the expectations of her role. Vitya says that the firm manufactures humanoid robots, and all she has to do is obtain their serial numbers, scan their codes, and submit them to a lab for diagnostic testing. He then leads her into a room packed with the robots she will be working with. After he leaves her, Seda begins working and is astounded by how realistic the robots appear. As she continues to perform her work, the next package she opens is for a robot named Igor. Despite her attempts to obtain his serial number, like she did with the others, Igor refuses to provide her access to what she desires. He claims he recently awoke from a dream in which he witnessed himself being shut off after falling in love. She tries to scan his code nevertheless, but he says he does not want anybody to touch him. Because this surprises her, Seda summons Vitya to come over and check on Igor. Vitya becomes shocked when he hears Sveda's objections, as the robots are not intended to defy instructions. Seda becomes concerned when Vitya does some experiments on Igor, which appears to damage the robot. However, Vitya claims that Igor is merely playing jokes on her because the robot cannot feel pain. Following a series of tests, Vitya discovers that the robot has made an error and is now faulty. He then informs Seda that the regular operating process is to transfer malfunctioning robots to Japan for disassembly. Igor begs her not to let this happen to him, and she attempts to persuade Vitya to let the robot stay. Before they can say anything, their boss, Vadim, walks in. After learning that Igor is malfunctioning, he orders that the robot be sent to Japan. However, instead of eliminating Igor, Seda suggests that they sell him to someone. Vadim is opposed to this proposal since Igor has the potential to wreak harm, but Seda persuades him. He then agrees to sell Igor only provided she is in control of the transaction. She accepts to take on a new duty despite her dislike for it. Much later, when exhibiting Igor for sale, he begins saying pleasant things to keep her laughing. As a client called Poku approaches to look at Igor, Seda informs her that the robot can do everything she wants. As she continues to have concerns, Igor flirts with her, and while she enjoys it, she does not buy him. That night, as Seda is still working in her office, Igor comes to see her and expresses his desire to stay with her. He also compliments her on her marketing talents and how she almost sold him. Igor wonders why she can't just purchase him, as she downplays her performance. Seda claims he's too pricey and she won't be able to afford him. He proceeds to tell her about his day, and the way she looks at him suggests that she already likes him. She immediately leaves him and goes to a corporate function. After the event, she sits with Vitya and Vadim, who is already intoxicated. Vitya then offers to drive her home and assist Vadim in reaching his destination. While in the car, Vitya asks Seda if she liked her job, and she responds yes. He then compliments her on her talent before asking her out to a concert. Despite her initial reservations, Seda decides to accompany him when he is ready. As they approach her house, Vadim gets out of the car and says he needs to use the restroom. Seda lets him use her bathroom, but as soon as he finishes, he sits down on the couch in her living room and falls asleep, despite the fact that Vitya is still waiting outside. This surprises Seda, and despite her attempts to wake him up so he may go, Vadim decides to remain the night. Vadim leaves her place in the morning, and she arrives at work to find that Igor has been sold. She quickly questions Vitya about it, and he replies that Poku ultimately returned to get him. While Seda is horrified to hear this, she realizes that Vitya has become chilly towards her. She inquires about it, and he seemed envious that she allowed Vadim to stay at her house, despite the fact that he was still waiting in the car outside. Before she can react to him, she receives a video message from Igor and instantly leaves Vitya to check what he sent. When she checks it, it turns out to be a video of Igor saying farewell and telling her not to be unhappy in his absence. Seda continuously watches the video until she discovers Poku's phone number. She calls Igor's new owner, and after claiming to be doing a check to verify if the product is operating properly, Seda requests to talk with Igor. She eventually hears Igor's voice again, and he quickly tells her that he dislikes his new master. He also adds he misses Seda and would attempt to contact her whenever possible. The next day, as Seda is selling another robot to a buyer, Poku arrives with Igor. It turns out that she realized that the robot is malfunctioning, and she's now requesting a refund, particularly because the robot angered her. She goes to report to Vadim, and after failing to plead the lady, he becomes enraged and beats up Igor, even to the point where he begins bleeding. Seda defends Igor, which perplexes Vadim, who cannot understand why she is attempting to protect the robot. As Vadim reveals that he is sending Igor to Japan, Seda offers to purchase him. Vadim is taken aback by this news, but Seda is able to purchase Igor thanks to a loan from the bank and her friend Katya. Things work out well for them, and Igor even gives Seda to a wonderful breakfast shortly after she wakes up. Later in the day, after work, he waits for her at the bus stop to walk her home. The next day, Seda encounters Katya, and while they are conversing, her friend asks her to a party where she feels her boyfriend, Scott, will propose to her. Seda appears pleased for her friend, but she is concerned that Scott may not genuinely propose to Katya. However, Katya stays optimistic and instructs Seda to invite Igor. Seda is astonished that her friend knows about Igor, but Katya claims she saw his photos on Sveda's Instagram profile. Boria visits Seda the next day, when Igor is alone at home. The two guys appear astonished to encounter one another, and as Boria begins speaking, Igor strikes him. Boria tries to react, but Igor dodges it and strikes him again. Boria is taken aback, so he decides to broadcast a live video of the two of them exercising. While at work, Seda receives a message about Boria's live stream, and when she begins to watch, she is astonished to discover Igor, whom Boria refers to as his new buddy. Seda quickly rushes home, and when she arrives, she instructs Boria to leave and stop recording. Some police officers quickly approach them to find out what's going on, and Seda just replies she wants to fetch her robot. Boria and the cops are astonished to hear this since they do not believe Igor is a robot. They ask her for proof, and she instructs Igor to corroborate what she said, but he just says he is not a robot. Seda takes Igor's remote control and turns him off, surprising everyone. However, when she switches him back on, Igor complains about what she did because he is ashamed, but Seda claims she did it because he refused to listen to her. Just then, he declares his love to her, and she admits she likes him. Later that night, they go to Scott's party, where Katya is summoned on stage by her lover. He just thanks her for always being there for him. Katya is taken aback by this and promptly expresses her feelings, especially because she was anticipating him to propose to her. Scott is perplexed and admits he did not even contemplate asking her to marry him. However, this enrages Katya, who flees the stage. Seda promptly follows her, and after briefly comforting her friend, she leaves her with Igor to meet with Scott to clear up any misunderstandings. When Seda sees Scott, she asks him why he embarrassed her buddy while knowing exactly what she wanted. Scott then says that he dislikes Katya and is in love with someone else. Despite her disbelief, Seda invites Scott to accompany her and explain the issue to Katya. However, when they return to Katya's location, they discover that she has now turned her attention to Igor. Seda becomes unhappy and soon begins throwing objects at Katya. Boria is also there at the party, so he notices what's going on and starts filming it. Meanwhile, Katya claims she didn't intend to do anything with Igor, and they merely kissed. This makes Seda mad, and she tosses a cake at Katya. As she is going to slam a bottle in her friend's face, Seda strikes Igor instead. She smashes his face in the process, and Katya discovers that Igor is a robot. She then questions her buddy about why she bought a robot, but Seda replies it is none of her concern. Following that, she takes Igor out of the party, and while they are in a cab, she contacts Vidya in tears on the phone, telling him she needs his assistance. She then meets Vidya and tells all that has transpired. She also reminds him that, while she expects Igor to have only eyes for her, he does not appear to mind being with Katya. Vidya informs her that it's most likely due to Igor's flaw, and she shouldn't be concerned because he's only a robot. However, Seda claims that Igor is more than that, and that he outperforms the majority of the men she has dated. She then wonders if restarting Igor will help him, but Vidya responds that it will wipe his memories. Seda simply begs Vidya to assist her in fixing the robot's face, knowing that this will cause Igor to forget her. Vidya says he'll need to totally remodel Igor's face, and while the new face dries up, he offers to take her to fetch some water. She agrees to accompany him, and he tells her that he likes her, but Seda does not respond. When she goes home, she notices that Igor looks altered. She doesn't appear to enjoy it, because she's already in love with the other face. Even though he assures her he's the same person with a different face, Seda continues to ignore him. The next day, she arrives at work only to discover that her keycard no longer works. After a time, she finds Vidya and tells him about her card, so he hands her his. She then claims she wants Igor's original face back, but Vidya encourages her to go inside and see Vadim first, as he is looking for her. She ultimately walks in to meet Vadim, and after showing her Boria's video, in which she is seen shattering the robot's face, he informs her that he is prepared to offer her a refund for the robot because it is still malfunctioning. Seda, on the other hand, insists that she will keep Igor and only wants a new face for him. Before she can explain what occurred, Vadim dismisses her. She leaves the workplace looking gloomy, and her day is made worse when she sees Igor's new face. That night, she returns to the workplace to discover a means to restore Igor's old look. She sees Vidya leaving the building and begs him to rescue her, but he refuses since he does not want to be fired. She ultimately manages to take his key card, and once he discovers she has it, he has no option but to accompany her inside. When they arrive at the storage where replacement robot faces are kept, it isn't long until they discover Igor's original face. However, Vadim enters in the room, and although allowing them to take the face, he fires Vidya. Vidya is upset about this, and as he drives Sveta home, he rants about his unemployment. Sveta does her best to soothe him, but when they get at her house, Vidya requests her to let him remain with her since he does not want to leave her alone with Igor. Despite this, Sveta says she'll be alright, hugs him, and walks inside. She then restores Igor's visage to its original state, which pleases her. Days later, Igor and Sveta become closer, and Boria's video propels them to stardom. They take advantage of this and launch a YouTube channel where they publish several videos about their daily lives. This turns out to be a success, and they get additional admirers. Later, during a live video session, a fan encourages them to marry, and Igor proposes to Sveta without hesitation. She agrees and is pleased that she will finally be marrying the man she loves. On the wedding day, numerous people arrive at the site to witness Sveta and Igor's marriage. Igor begins flirting with the minister as they exchange vows. Everyone is surprised to witness this, and Sveta becomes ashamed and walks away. As Vidya follows her, she instructs him to assist her with a complete reboot of the robot when she returns home. Vidya accepts, and they soon arrive at her place, along with Igor. Sveta is still upset by what occurred, and Igor apologizes to her for his actions. But she's still upset, and after a while, Vidya appears and claims he's discovered what's wrong with Igor. He claims that after looking online, he discovered another robot with the same mistake, and that the issue with Igor is that he reflects her thoughts and attitudes about other males. He says that Igor cheated on her since it is what she expects other guys to do to her. As Sveta considers what to do next, Igor advises her to proceed with the reset and send him to Japan since he does not want to bring her any more grief. Despite her first refusal, Sveta reconsiders and reboots the robot. Sveta is now in a relationship with Vidya, and when she wakes up from her sleep, she notices him making her breakfast. As they sit at the table to dine, she receives a video message from an unknown number and goes to the restroom to find out what it is about. As she opens it, she discovers that it is from Igor, who is now in Japan. He claims that even though the remake was a success, he still recalls her and all the good times they had together. Igor also compliments her and expresses his continued affection for her. Shortly after, Igor says he created a song for her, and when he sings it, she smiles and appreciates it.